Hey y'all, my name is Samah Ali and I'm one of the Associate Shorts Programmers for Doc NYC. I am very pleased to lead the Q&A for Doc NYCU's New York University Shorts program for this year's festival. We have many directors joining us virtually today. Two of them are in the room. I will ask everyone to introduce themselves in addition to what films they directed. Maria, why don't you start us off?
Hi, my name is Maria Florencia Smith, and my film is TikTok Time to Heal.
Bonnie?
Hi, I'm Boning Lee. I made a documentary about Hong Kong protests, and it's called Some Way Out of Here.
Welcome both. Thank you for being here today and having time to talk about your films. I definitely want to start off right with the top. What inspired your stories, and why did you use yourself as like characters to enter the documentaries? Boning, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I think I'm interested in Hong Kong protests because, when I was a college student, I spent 4 years in Macau. It is a city just borders Hong Kong basically, and I studied Cantonese. I love the people there, and I was always this fan of Hong Kong pop cultures. So I went to Hong Kong by a boat every like 2 weeks, and I talked to the people right there, and it just felt really nice. Basically, Hong Kong is this very hot topic in China. Why? Because it feels like this little kid that is very rebelliant to his parents in this China scenario, and also in the global political landscape, Hong Kong is a very important economic free zone in Asia. So those politics in Hong Kong actually reflects the struggle of freedom and democracy in the very big backdrop of China. And when you discuss China and discuss the progress of democracy and freedom, you can't ignore Hong Kong and the people who are fighting to save their land and also spread this thoughts of the Western thoughts and also the spirit of rebellions and just fighting for their own future. And I think I'm very inspired by people in Hong Kong who are sacrificing their own life and really going to the streets and let people see the spirits of 7 million people, especially last year. And I think even though this year, because of the coronavirus and many interruptions, I think Hong Kong is a little bit like being shut down. But I think their efforts last year will be appreciated because they wrote history. It's a very big part of modern Chinese history. And when I was there, I felt like a gambler because I'm from China. I don't have much to defend myself because every week I even have to go back to China for this visa renewal. And but just think of like you're going to a casino and you're playing Hold'em. It's very hard to now go all in to have pocket aces. So that's how I felt, and that's why I was so passionate about Hong Kong.
What an analogy. My goodness. Brilliant. Maria, your inspiration.
Yes, so my inspiration, obviously, I always knew that I needed one day to ask those questions to my family, to confront my family finally, because there were so many. And like you saw in the film, they always would shut me down when I tried to approach them or even start the conversation going that way. So I always knew that. And when the film opportunity came, it was actually my first choice to do this film. But when I needed to start filming, I went another way. I looked for another story. I was about to film that story because I was too scared. It was too intimidating for me. But then what happened is that second story fell through midway. halfway. So I was, when like it was like a sign, it was like, okay, it is time, it is now. I have the opportunity to film this, even because I also thought, okay, if I'm gonna do it with a camera, I need the camera actually to do it. Because if not, I'm gonna stop asking. They're gonna shut me down again, and I'm gonna be like, okay, fine, I'll take your answer, and I'm gonna go away. And I couldn't do that anymore. So yeah, so I really took that opportunity of the camera as my, shield. They couldn't say no. I mean, they could say no to me, but it was recorded. So I really didn't know what I was gonna get. But yeah, I did have a feeling inside of me that I it was about time to do this. So I really took that as my inspiration.
Both of your films are, as I mentioned earlier, the entry point is through yourself, and through your own personal stories and, experimentations and, kind of using the camera as your shield to unearth what you want to discover. And both of your subject matter is so personal and then also political. And so I'm wondering why you decided to use yourself as the entry point, and also the camera as your shield to kind of unpack things. Maria, let's start with you. You've kind of already started that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I I decided to start with myself because it was all I knew at that point. I had me with my feelings, with my thoughts, with the fact that I had these tics when I was younger, and that I had a lot of confusion, right, with myself. And so I thought it was a good point to start with, because it was like, okay, let's start here because this is what I know. And so now, as the film progresses, as I ask my family and all these other people, let's unpack things, let's reveal things. Maybe I won't find anything, maybe I will. Again, I didn't know that, but it was it was like, okay, let's start with what I know. Definitely that. And I think it did work, because I did find a lot of things, to my surprise, really. But and so now I definitely know, I know me. I know I have some puzzles pieced with what was happening with me, why I had those tics, and I definitely know more about my family, about their past, about my parents' relationship that I had no idea, and it obviously all serves to what I am today.
So let's just be clear that documentaries are just pretending to be objective. It is a reality. You're documenting the reality, but in many ways you're documenting it from your own personal angle. There's no doubt about that. And when I was very young, I had this fantasy about being a warfare correspondent, like a warfare journalist. And I had this fantasy of being Robert Capa, the warfare journalist photographer. And I was also inspired by Nanfu Wang, our professor, and she was really like brave, and she goes everywhere with her camera just to show that she was there, and her presence being there makes a huge difference to the film, because it allows you to follow her path and follow her journey. For me, I think Hong Kong is very personal to me, because it kind of reminds me of my family stories of 1989, the Tiananmen Square. So there's like a parallel universe feeling to me when I got to Hong Kong. It kind of just reminded me of all the struggles in Beijing, and now the history is repeating again. And it'll be a little shameful for me to keep myself out of danger while putting all my friends in the film and exposing them to danger. So when I was editing, I just decided to put myself in the very beginning. And I want to show the risk. I want to show myself at stake. I want to keep the audience at the front of their seats just to see how I end up. So that's my strategy.
Totally felt it from both of your films. Now, here's a question for both of you. What is one lesson that you learned from making this film? Boning, let's start with you, and then Maria.
I've learned so many things through the production of this film. One of the biggest lessons I learned is how to communicate to people, how to make friends. Basically, when I was in Hong Kong, from day one, I didn't know anybody in Hong Kong, and I did my research. I was in New York. I was struggling to gather all the information about Hong Kong, and I couldn't sleep at all on the plane. But when I got there, I just felt, this is a city I used to know, and I now feel re-energized by this lively city. I went to this gallery. I didn't know anyone in that gallery, but I made all those people my friends, and I gained their respect and their trust. I think that's a really big part of filmmaking. You just need to make people believe that you're the guy to tell the story. And by many standards, my film isn't that mature. It's more experimental, and persuading those people to join this experiment is as hard as making documentary. So when I film more after this documentary, I feel myself more confident. I feel myself more outspoken in public. So I think that's really a big lesson learned.
And for me, yeah, communication is the biggest one, I think, like Boning. I learned how to voice myself pretty much, how to, speak up, especially in a space where I felt incredibly uncomfortable, even though it's my family. I learned how to, demand when I need something, to stand up for myself and demand it. And I think that lesson will come in handy in definitely the future, because I probably will have to do that again, and especially with people that I don't know, with strangers. So that is something that I'm really glad I was able to do it with the closest people in my life. And also I in the moment of editing, I had to like separate myself as well from the film, because there was moments where I couldn't see things clearly because I was too emotionally involved. But definitely in those months of editing, I learned how to step away and look at my film, at my life, at my parents' life through okay, I'm the filmmaker now, from the filmmaker view. It was definitely challenging, but and it's definitely not like a switch that you do. It's definitely takes time, but while viewing your footage and being there with the material, it takes you there. Thankfully, it took me there to the point where I could step aside and switch back from, okay, here I am, Maria, the first character of the film, emotionally invested, but then here I need to be as definitely the director filmmaker way.
Such smart and brilliant answers that y'all have. I'm just amazed. My final question to you both is, what are you working on now? What's your next project?
Boning, do you have any?
Sure. I've been filming the Black Lives Matter stories for quite a while. I've been freelancing for a while and still looking for a permanent job. But when I have time, I just hook up with a lot of Black people in the streets. And my recent character is somebody I knew when I took a trip to DC. And when I met him, he's this Black guy swimming in the reflection lake and with a noose around his neck and tightening himself. and shouting "No justice, no peace." He's actually from Long Island, New York, so I followed him back, and I felt more. He has a 7-year-old daughter, so they sometimes go protest hand in hand in the streets in Long Island. I've been filming his stories, and I've been taking photos for many protesters in the streets, and I felt is such a blessed journey, like being able to find this continuation. After Hong Kong, I find I've seen so many brilliant, beautiful people all around the world fighting for most likely the same thing. And when I talk to them about Hong Kong and talk to them about how to deal with tear gas, how to deal with all those police brutality, I think we have a lot to talk about, and I don't feel myself kept out of it at all. Although I'm Asian and they're Black.
For me, I am actually looking for my next story. I am open to whatever I find along the way. I'm working as a reporter right now. So I'm doing 2-minute stories around New York City. And yeah, definitely open to find the next one.
Well, I'm sure that both of you will have exceptionally bright careers and futures because of not only what you're doing right now, but also what you're currently looking for or looking at. Such smart and articulate words were shared in this Q&A, and I'm so thankful to both of you for being here today.
Thank you.
Of course,
so
thank you. I would hope that everybody at home kind of learns something from this conversation and also enjoys the rest of the festival by checking out our other selections on our 2020 lineup. Again, Maria Boning, thank you so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure having a conversation with you.
My pleasure.
My pleasure as well. Thank you.